All right. Good Sunday evening, South Carolina Weather Watchers. I'm your meteorologist, Joseph Peterson. Let's go in and talk about the weather for your Sunday evening going into your week, because it is indeed Sunday. That means that we will talk about this week's forecast for the week of October the 26th going into Saturday, November the 1st. This is the last week of October. Last week was obviously the last full week. This week is the last official week. So, with that out the way, if you have not hit the like button or the subscribe button yet, go in and do so. Also, make sure that you go in and hit the share button. Share with all the people that you know. We are at, right now, 599. We are still one subscriber away from that main goal. One subscriber away from that main goal of 600. Please make sure that you go in and share it to the people that you know. Also, make sure that you go and hit the like button. We're at 6 people have tuned in so far and only 3 likes so far. So make sure that you go in and do that. And then we already talked about sharing, so make sure that you do that. And so let's go on and talk about what are we going to be talking about tonight. Obviously, the week forecast, our current condition, what's going on currently. Also, we will talk about the tropics and what's going to happen tonight. We also will talk about, obviously, our averages for the week. We'll talk about the low flood risk that we have. And then for the most part, cooler temperatures, and that's pretty much it. So what's going on currently, right now, as we speak? Well, as we speak right now, there is some rainfall ongoing. Is indeed some rainfall going throughout the state of South Carolina, rather that be over there inside of the western part of the state, or rather that be over there near in like the central part of the state, from Saluda over into Lexington, over towards Edgefield. We have some rainfall going on over there. And then as we go on like over into like the Florence area, rainfall over there. But the low country, Grand Strand, looks dry. And other than that, I believe that is about it. If we go in and look at what's going on throughout the entire U.S., we do have some rainfall going on in North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, going into Illinois. We also do have some rainfall going on over here. Some of it may be some snowfall, and it looks like right now that it is. Some of it is over there in like the northern elevations, or when I say northern, the higher elevations, being in Washington and Oregon and Idaho. Also moving inside of Wyoming as well. Rainfall moving into other areas like California, Nevada, maybe into other areas as well. Utah included, Colorado in there. And in the Northeast up here in Maine, they do in fact have some rainfall going on up there as well. Cloud cover, heavy cloud cover right now. Heavy cloud cover right now going throughout pretty much all of the state. All of the state right now receiving some cloud cover. And if we go into our future for our cloud cover, as we push this forward, you can see it pretty much as we go all the way through tomorrow into tomorrow evening. It looks like cloud cover will continue. Current temperatures right now, 59 in Columbia, as well as 57 in Orangeburg, 59 in Somerville, and 61 in Georgetown, 62 in Murrells Inlet, as well as 61 in Myrtle Beach, 57 in Conway, and 60 in North Myrtle Beach, 56 in Florence, as well as 57 in Hartsville, 56 in Bennettsville, as well as 55 in Lancaster, 61 inside of Charleston, and that might be around 64. Did I say 64 actually? 57 in Clemson, as well as 56 in Greenville and Anderson, 56 also in Spartanburg, and even around 55 in Gaffney, York, and 54 in Rock Hill. Low temperatures for tonight, 48 in Greenville, 48 in Spartanburg, as well as 50 in Rock Hill, 49 in Greenwood, and 53 in Columbia, 52 in Aiken, and 54 in Barnwell and Orangeburg, 52 in Kingstree, and 55 in Moncks Corner and Walterboro, 60 inside of Charleston, and 56 in Myrtle Beach and Georgetown, 64 in Hilton Head Island. Rainfall for tonight, a good amount of rainfall possible. Good amount of rainfall possible. 10th of an inch to a quarter of an inch possible for Chirrah going into Myrtle Beach. And you don't see a single area that even has 100th of an inch to a 10th of an inch. So I think that means that pretty much we are expecting everybody to get at least some rainfall as we go into tonight, into tomorrow. So a tenth of an inch to a quarter of an inch for Myrtle Beach, going into Chirac, quarter of an inch to a half an inch possible for Dillon, Florence, Sumter, Camden, Columbia, Georgetown, Aiken. Half an inch to an inch possible for Barnwell, Walterboro, Moncks Corner, Charleston, Newbury, going into Greenwood, Lawrence, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, and maybe even the potentially an inch to an inch and a half possible for like with the western Charleston County going over towards Beaufort. And then 2 to 3 inches of rainfall possible down there in Hilton Head Island. And somebody down there might even receive up to 3 to 4 inches of rainfall. So you have to be watching out down there. And that's why we have that isolated flash flood risk. Moving to tonight, you can see right here, isolated flash flood risk is down there for that area. That is for down here near Hilton Head Island Plantation, going over into other parts of Georgia like Savannah. But that's why we have that excessive rainfall outlook for that area. Now, that's not the only day. Obviously, we have another day, day 2, tomorrow. Isolated flash flooding is possible up here inside of the upstate as well, so the upstate has to watch out for some isolated flash flooding tomorrow, and probably not just the upstate, but other parts like the northwestern Midlands, and maybe even parts of the western Midlands going into a lot of like other parts, like going into North Carolina, going into Georgia. And so that's pretty much where this whole area comes from. Now, if we go even further into the future, day 4, I believe this is Wednesday. Wednesday, isolated flash flooding possible here for the upstate going into Greenville, Spartanburg, Seneca, York, Rock Hill, all these areas. And then day 5, again, another break. No rainfall expected there either. Now, in terms of the crazy score, this is probably the highest crazy score that we've seen in quite a while. Now, at this point, we're at a 42. At a 42, we're inside the moderate category. It's been a while since we've even been past the mild category. And so, noticeable weather conditions such as moderate rain, wind, minor storms, absolutely correct. As we have widespread rainfall that's going to occur just as we go through like tonight, going into even tomorrow as well. It's going to be cloudy. Obviously, you have some rainfall going through. And it might even be a little bit breezy as well. And so that's our crazy score for tonight. Now for our risk for thunderstorm activity. For thunderstorms, there's indeed, just like a little small risk. It's nothing like too big or anything like that. Here's day 1. Day 2 pretty much is a little bit bigger for the most part, a little bit bigger. And when I say a little bit, I mean pretty much a lot. But still, it could pretty much cover the entire state. It has a chance for thunderstorm activity, as we do have a widespread thunderstorm risk as we go into tomorrow. And then for Tuesday, it shrinks a lot. And that time I'm actually serious. It actually shrinks a lot as we go into Tuesday, October the 28th. So tonight, pretty much parts of like the coastal low country. Day 2, pretty much everybody. Tomorrow, everyone has a chance for a thunderstorm tomorrow. And then Tuesday, we're done. We already talked about excessive rainfall. Let's go on and talk about the models. We're going to start off here at 9 o'clock p.m. as we go in and push this forward. The rainfall dramatically increases as we go through to around like 1 a.m., for example. There still are some areas that are not receiving rainfall, but still a good amount. And so this will go all the way to 5 a.m. Look at this shower activity that goes on. And as we continue all the way to 8, 9, 10 a.m., shower and downpour activity goes on throughout the upstate, goes on throughout the Midlands, goes on throughout the Low Country, and even throughout the PD and the Grand Strand areas. By around 1 p.m., we have this heavy downpour activity going on through even further. This is 2 p.m. right here. Pretty much the entire state, for the most part, covered with rainfall, thunderstorm activity. That will go on past through around 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. They will push off the coastal region. There goes the low pressure right there. And the upstate will still be receiving the majority of the rainfall as you go through to around 9, 10, 11 p.m. as pretty much the rest of the state is trying to get out of that rainfall by that time frame. And this will help with the drought significantly. We do have a drought going on right now. I think for the most part we know that. But this is what our drought conditions look like right now. And so this will definitely help out with the drought a lot. And this is just 33 hours out. You go even further, all the way to around 6 a.m. on the 28th. Still having some rainfall, not as much, but even by 2 p.m. on the 28th on Tuesday, shower activity is still going on for a good amount of the area. It definitely is a lot more decreased, but it's still some coverage. So let's go even further. Let's go even further into the future. There goes our cold front right there. That's going to come through on the 29th into the 30th, going into like around like the 31st. And there is indeed, after we get through like Halloween, and after we get through this dry patch right here, pretty much after we get through the day before Halloween, high pressure is going to take over. And we're going to be mostly dry. Yes, we will have, it seems like we might have like some more activity near the coastal areas through like the low country, southern Midlands, PD, Grand Strand areas by around like November the 2nd, the 3rd. But that's not going to do much at all. And then we have another dry period all the way until around like November the 8th, the 9th. And that cold front will continue to move its way off to the east by the time we get to around like the 8th and the 9th. And then high pressure takes over, and it's pretty much rinse and repeat. Pretty much just rinse and repeat as we go throughout the majority of the first half of November. But just for this week in general, because this is obviously the week forecast, seems like it's going to be an active week. Seems like it will be an active week. It starts to get less active by the time we get to Thursday and Friday, but everything else seems to be active. And speaking of just this week's forecast in general, let's go in and talk about it. So we start off here. We're going to look at temperatures first. Over here to the eastern U.S. Obviously, this will be a below average temperature week. We will have temperatures below average than what we would usually see during this time of year on this week. So that is why we are inside of the blue. Now, if we go into precipitation, same thing, but the opposite. We will be above average in terms of rainfall. And so this, like I said, will help our drought conditions out significantly. Not too hot temperatures and a lot of rainfall. That is what will get rid of a drought. And so this will be a good thing for us right here. Now, is it cold enough to bring any sort of like winter precipitation? No, obviously not. You'd still probably be like a good 10, 15, some areas probably 20 degrees off from that. So we still have a little bit of time left to go before we get into those talks. We'll talk about that though as we go into Saturday. Actually, we'll talk about that on Saturday. But this is what it looks like for this week just in general. So let's go on and look at the temperature anomalies for this week. We go on and push this forward. You see the week staying cooler than average all the way through the 31st into November. And so this would just be a cooler week on average. Yes, you will have like some warmer peaks potentially as you go maybe into tomorrow, but it still stays cooler. And especially after that cold front passes us on Thursday. Here's another look at it right here. If we go on into the dew points right here. You can see all of this cooler, drier air that moves through all the way through the 31st, through November the 1st. In terms of what actual temperatures look like, actual temperatures, the 50s, 40s, not seeing too many 30s, might be some 30s, but for the most part, it's looking like the 40s is really taking over. Even near the coastal areas, it can be down into the 40s. The upstate probably will get some 30s. So that is all for the models. Let's go on and talk about how much rainfall we will see this week. If we go on to the WPC forecast over here towards the southeast, through the next 7 days, for the most part, it looks like around a good 1 to around 3 inches of rainfall. I do see some areas over here in like the light areas. That's probably around 3/4 of an inch to around an inch or so in these light areas. In the purple areas, 1 to around 1.5, close to 2 inches, 2 inches to 3 inches in the red. And then as you get more into like these more tannish colors up there inside of the upstate, that's getting into like the 4-inch territory up there. And again, this is what it looks like here, and this is what the drought monitor looks like right here. So definitely going to break down on it. Areas that definitely need the rainfall the most areas, up there near Rock Hill over down into like the north and western low country. But I mean, a lot of areas could still use it. The upstate, a good majority of it, Midlands for sure could still use it. Southern Midlands could even use it as well. Those areas that definitely need it the most. And so that's it for our week. That's it for our week forecast. So since that is out of the way, let's go on and talk about the tropics, because Melissa is still here, a 145 mile per hour storm, and it's pretty much the same thing that we've been talking about just as we've been going through yesterday and this morning. The same thing stands with this storm. It is pretty much intensifying really well, and I'm going to show you this radar image of it right here, and just look at how much more organized it is. We watched this thing form from the very start, and look at how organized it is now. You can definitely see the very obvious eye wall with it, and all the outer bands with it as well. And so we watched this thing form all the way from when it was just an invest. It wasn't even a named storm at the time. Even when it was just about to form, I was talking about it because we were talking about the storm before it, Lorenzo, I believe it was. And I was saying after Lorenzo, there would be another storm potentially after, and we were watching it all the way back then, and now it's all the way up to a Category 4, about to be Category 5 storm here. Now, what does the discussion say? Obviously, same thing pretty much. Jamaica, they need to be seeking shelter now. Damaging winds, heavy rainfall tonight and Monday will cause catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding before potentially devastating winds arrive Monday night into Tuesday morning. Extensive infrastructural damage, long-duration power and communication outages, and isolation of communities are expected. Life-threatening storm surge and damaging waves are expected along portions of the southern coast Monday night and Tuesday morning. Then for Haiti and the Dominican Republic, catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding and landslides are expected across southwestern Haiti and the southern portion of the Dominican Republic through midweek. In Haiti, extensive infrastructural damage and isolation of communities is likely. Although winds have temporarily decreased, they are likely to increase again. Eastern Cuba, life-threatening storm surge is expected along portions of the southern coast of eastern Cuba late Tuesday and Tuesday night. Damaging winds and heavy rainfall with life-threatening and potentially catastrophic flash flooding and landslides are also expected to begin on Monday. Preparation should be rushed to completion. And then for southeastern Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands, monitor Melissa closely. There is an increasing risk of significant storm surge, damaging winds, and heavy rainfall Tuesday and Wednesday. Watches will likely be required early tomorrow. So a lot going on. Like it said, it's a life-threatening situation for these areas. For Jamaica, life-threatening situation for Haiti, life-threatening situation for Eastern Cuba, and maybe a life-threatening situation over there for the Bahamas, Turks, Caicos Islands. So if you know anybody in those areas, make sure that they are prepared for it. And if they did evacuate to get out, probably was the smart move, as this thing will become a Category 5 storm. This thing will become a Category 5 storm. So what does the actual official forecast track look like? Well, again, pretty much the same. Not much has changed here except for just the fact that we are looking at this thing potentially trying to impact Bermuda. As you get like maybe into between Thursday and Friday, it really starts to move a lot quicker. Right now, it's only moving west at 5 miles an hour, and so that's why it's strengthening so much. It's just because you are, it's moving so slow, and it's getting all of that ingredients, all of the ingredients that it needs, and so that's why it's strengthening so much. Now, in terms of what it's actually supposed to do in terms of wind speeds, there it is right here, Category 4 right now. It's expected to become a Category 5 probably tomorrow. It looks like 42 hours out, so tomorrow at around 2 p.m. Expect to become a Category 5, winds of up to 160 miles per hour with gusts of up to 195. And it's going to go through, make landfall Jamaica, go over into Cuba, and then into the Bahamas. Now, No threat to South Carolina, obviously. No threat to us at all. It's going to move its way up to the north and east. We're all the way over here. We're going to have some fun in the sun for the most part. Maybe some cloud cover. Maybe some more rainfall. Just determines on when it passes us. Seems like it wants to pass us on, let me see this, around like the 30th. So, yeah, we'll be just getting out. We might be having some fun in the sun by that time. But in terms of like rip currents and in terms of high surf, now that might be a bit of an interesting situation to look at, because we do actually have a chance for rip currents tonight and tomorrow, but it's not from Melissa. This is just regular rip currents that are going on. High risk of rip currents go on over here for like the low country coastal areas, and then a moderate risk goes all the way from Georgetown all the way up to this pretty much the South Carolina North Carolina border. And then tomorrow, high risk of rip currents for pretty much everybody except for over here near North Myrtle Beach. A moderate risk up there, while everyone else has a high risk of rip currents tomorrow. Again, I'm pretty sure this has nothing to do with Melissa. I'm pretty sure this is just some waves going on out here in the Atlantic, while Melissa's all the way down here. So, I don't think that has anything to do with that. And obviously, we've been talking about the rainfall, isolated possible up to 40 inches of rainfall possible in Jamaica. So that's what they're talking about in terms of those life-threatening rip currents there. And so again, nothing for us. We look to be relatively fine for now. And so that's pretty much the update there on the tropics. Nothing else really for me to say. The models looked pretty much the exact same. Pretty much is going to follow that same path that we've been looking at. So let's go on now, since that is the tropics out of the way. Let's go on and talk about our future with our future tropics. So we're done with the current ones. The future, obviously, we go in and look at the Euro for that. And just as you continue to push our way forward, Melissa's going to go away. And then I was talking about potentially, seeing something inside of the Caribbean Sea, as we have some areas that we're watching for. So, and I already said that if that goes on and takes the same track, and we do get a storm out of it, and it goes in the same track that Melissa did, that would not be a good sign, as those areas have already just gotten battered, and they might get some again if it forms, and if it goes in the same path, which is very unlikely that it goes in the very same path, but it could take a similar path and it does form. That's possible. But right now, it's not looking like anything bad. It looks like they're mainly going over to the west for now. So let's go and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say for tonight. Starting off, my Aunt Lula is here first tonight. With her saying, "Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you." She also says, "Today I did attend the church tailgating gathering, and it was very nice. Lots of food. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that it was nice. Glad that you got some food." My Aunt Shirley says, "Good evening to all. I pray that everyone has had a blessed day. I did. Thank you so much for asking. Good evening to you." Mr. Anthony also says, "Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you." Mr. Chris says, "Good evening, everyone. Hope you had a great day." Says, "Stayed cloudy all day inside of Monk's Corner. Looking forward to some rain tomorrow. Definitely need some." We pretty much, mostly all of us need some. But there are a couple of areas that definitely really, don't need the rainfall, but could definitely want some. Definitely could want some. Even further down, my Aunt Lula comes back and says, "Yes, I also need, my garden also needs it." And then Mr. Chris comes back and says, "Please remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, also share with everyone you know. It helps the channel grow." Absolutely. We're at 599. We're trying to get to 600. Trail says, "Greetings, everyone. Quiet day here. A little sunshine, but mostly cloudy. I baked a sweet potato pound cake today." I've never heard of that. But, I had sweet potato pie before, so if it tastes the same, which, I mean, it should taste the same. If it tastes the same, then, might have to try it, might have to ask my mom if she would bake some, see what in the world, if she can do that for me, so I can try and see what it tastes, though. That says, Gideon Cousin Joseph, I trust all is well with you. Unfortunately, my Panthers lost, so I'm a bit down. Other than that, we enjoyed some magnificent weather today, so that kind of makes up for it. I know, we got absolutely demolished. I'm sad, too. I'm very sad, too. We got absolutely demolished. It wasn't even... I could go off on a rant right now about that, but I'm not going to, because this is not the right page for that. If I had a sports page, I would do that, but... I have a lot of things that I can say about that, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna go in and move on from that, but hopefully we can bounce back from it. Mr. Chris come back and says, please keep the people in Jamaica and the other areas in prayer. They're going through rough times as we speak. Absolutely, make sure that you are praying for them as they are about to be going through a significantly deadly storm that's about to impact them. My Aunt Lula comes back and says, I'm ready for some rainfall. I am as well. Even though our area doesn't really need it, especially like in the Tri-County area and even in Georgetown County, we're inside the white, we're inside the none category, so we're not even in the abnormally dry. But I know, like I say, that this map doesn't usually tell everybody's situation, and so... just because you're inside the white and you're not inside the abnormally dry, that doesn't mean that you might not need rainfall. There might be some areas that might need some or want some. But the areas that definitely do need it is the areas in like the drought areas. Trail says, I hope the cooler temperatures stick around all week. It will. It will for the most part. Yeah, it will stick around pretty much all week. So you have some good news there. And then... Thad says, I sure hope the Caribbean doesn't get hit too hard with this hurricane, praying for safety, grace, and mercy. Absolutely correct. Hopefully, it's not as bad as we think. But, Category 5, winds of up to 165, gusts of up to around 195. I mean, that's going to do some unfortunate damage over there. Hopefully, if people need to, get to higher ground, need to make any last minute changes or anything like that, get to shelter though, and hopefully they can just avoid the worst parts, and hopefully the worst parts of the storm will obviously be in the non-populated areas. But that is all that I can see inside of the chat for tonight, so we'll come back and check this out. But first, before we come back, let's go and talk about the 4 locations outside of South Carolina. You might be asking, what in the world am I talking about? I'm talking about San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and also Duncan, Oklahoma. The reason why we talk about these 4 locations is because we have people who tune in almost nightly, and so we go on and talk about their forecast for them because they aren't inside the state of South Carolina, but they still show support either way. So starting off first, with San Antonio, like we always do, low temperatures tonight 64, high temperatures tomorrow 89, and then low temperatures tomorrow night 68. No precipitation is expected, but patchy fog. Patchy fog is potentially going to be an issue as you go into tomorrow, so you're going to have to watch out for that as you go into tomorrow morning. But in terms of severe weather, you're good there too. Then for Raleigh, you have low temperatures tonight at 51, high temperatures tomorrow at 60, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 48. Chance of rainfall tonight and tomorrow, but rain is likely tomorrow night, so you do have to watch out for that. No severe weather is expected, though, and in terms of excessive rainfall for you, no excessive rainfall for you. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania being the 3rd location with low temperatures tonight at 42, high temperatures tomorrow at 59, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 42 again. No precipitation is expected at this time. And in terms of excessive rainfall, isolated flash flooding is possible on Thursday. So do watch out for that. 5 days out, so things can change. You might get out of it, you might not. But just things could potentially change there. And then finally for Duncan, Oklahoma, you have low temperatures tonight at 54, high temperatures tomorrow at 72, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 55. No precipitation is expected tonight or tomorrow, but tomorrow night there is a slight chance of rainfall. Patchy, dense fog is also expected tonight and tomorrow morning, so make sure that if you're out driving then, you watch out for that. No excessive rainfall for you. In terms of severe weather, nothing for you either. So that is it in terms of those 4 locations. What's going on throughout the entire state of South Carolina right now as we speak? Showers and thunderstorms pose a risk for a couple of tornadoes, occasional damaging gusts, and some scattered flash flooding along the central Gulf Coast. A Pacific storm continues to bring gusty winds, lower elevation rainfall, and hazardous mountain snow to the northwestern U.S. We also will receive some freezing in western New York. Same thing going into like northeastern Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, even portions down here in New York. Not New York City, but other lower parts of New York going over into Connecticut. Going to be receiving some freezing. And then also it seems like we will in fact have some heat advisories. I know, some heat advisories over here in southwestern California, as they're going to have temperatures in the 90s. So they have to go through some hot temperatures, especially for this time of year. And that is all that I can see here inside of our look pretty much for the entire U.S. And that's going to wrap this up. If you have not hit the like button or the subscribe button yet, go on and do so. We are right now at $5.99 still. $5.99 still. And so we are trying to get to that main goal of 600. We are just one subscriber away. That's it. Just one subscriber away from that main goal of 600 subscribers. Let's go on and get there. Share it with anybody that you know that has not hit the subscribe button. You can share it to somebody at the store. You can share it to somebody at the park. You can share it to somebody, your next door neighbor, just anybody. Share it to them and make sure that they go and hit the subscribe button. And that is about all that I can see. Let me see. Is there anything else out the chat? I don't see anything else. Top fans for tonight. We have a new number 1 tonight. My Aunt Lou is at number 1. Mr. Chris at number 2. And then my cousin Trail is at number 3. So congratulations to the 3 of y'all for being the top fans of the night. The applause will play in just a second. But while I'm getting that up, make sure that you tune in for later this week. On Thursday, obviously, we'll be talking about the drought monitor. On Saturday, we will be talking about our look at the winter. Yes, our look at the winter for November 2025, December 2025, and January of 2026. Here goes my applause. So some stuff coming in. Especially for this week, a lot of stuff, especially towards like that last end of the week. The start of the week starts off fine, normal, unless something happens and we start to, talk about some more stuff because the weather is changing constantly. So things can still change here and there. I will be back tomorrow morning with your Monday morning forecast update. We did just get a new chat. Mr. Chris says everyone had a great night. Get some rest, stay safe and hydrated, and keep those in Jamaica and other areas in your prayer. Absolutely. And that is all that I have. Make sure that you're back here tomorrow morning with your Monday morning forecast update. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your Sunday, and let's start off this week great.